Hey guys, I'm Jess and I'm new around here, so let's do the booktube newbie tag, shall we? This seems like a good way to introduce myself. I decided to create this channel to talk about sci-fi and fantasy books because I need a place where I can yap and rant for as long as I want. I don't have a lot of people to who I can talk about books because my dear friends, bless their heart, they just like to read romance books and stuff, and that's just not my vibe, not my thing. I've been on Bookstagram for a while and I like it, but apparently I found out about this the other day. The captions have a character limit, so I couldn't ramble about Dead House Gates as much as I wanted, and that was the final straw for me, so I decided it was time to create a YouTube channel where no one can shut me up with character limits and I can just ramble on and on as much as I want. And trust me, I have a lot to ramble about Dead House Gates, that's gonna be my next video. So, question 2. What are some fun, unique things you can bring to booktube? My personality, my opinions, and my good looks, obviously. I mean, look at that. That's the cutest rat you've ever seen in your life. I think something interesting that I can bring is that I'm relatively new to books and I got more active at reading a couple years ago. So there are still a lot of popular series and classic books that I haven't read yet. So it will be fun to share my first time reading experiences with these books. I also want to do a lot of fun videos with tier lists and rankings. One thing about me, I love ranking things. It just tickles something in my brain to put things in an ordered list. I don't take the rankings too seriously, but I just love to do them. And tier lists as well, they are just so much fun and I love creating stupid categories for everything. So I'm very excited about doing some of those videos. I think they could be fun. And while I'm mostly going to be talking about books, I might also do some videos about games and shows, but it's all going to be sci-fi and fantasy. That's why I'm naming this channel Sci-Fi Fantasy Corner and not books, because yeah, there might be some other media types that I want to talk about. Okay, now I'm seeing this list of questions for this tag thing, and honestly a lot of these don't make sense to me to answer because they don't really help me explain what the vibe's gonna be with this channel. I mean, what do you care if I read in my bedroom or living room, right? So I'm just gonna skip around with these questions and do some of my own. So question 3 is, what kind of books are you into? It's very simple. I love sci-fi and I love fantasy, and that's pretty much all I read. Within these genres though, when it comes to sci-fi, I prefer books set in space. So space opera series or standalone books with a space story, that's what I prefer. I don't really care for very sciencey robots, AI, cyberpunk, sci-fi stuff. And for fantasy, I like high fantasy and I like dark fantasy the most. I also really enjoy cosmic horror. That's pretty much the only horror genre I can deal with. Everything else I'm just too scared. Question 4. What book series got you into reading? Okay, so if we're talking about little me, then it was Aragon and Harry Potter, obviously. If we're talking about early teens, mid 2000s me, then I wasn't immune to Twilight. It was Twilight. If we're talking later teens me, it was The Hunger Games, and I still love The Hunger Games, to be honest. I think that series holds up very well into the adult years. And to be honest, that was pretty much all I read. And after, I didn't read at all. I just had other interests, but I always loved sci-fi and fantasy. What really got me into reading recently was The Expanse. I loved the TV show, so I decided to read the book series as well, although I haven't read the last 3 books, and why? That's a topic for another day. But after reading The Expanse, I started looking for other sci-fi books and series, and then eventually I started reading fantasy as well. And this was about 2 years ago, and I'm not a high volume reader, so that's why there are still so many popular things I need to start reading. But yeah, I'm very excited to get into more series in the future. Okay, question 5. What books are you currently reading? I only read one book at a time, because otherwise my mind just starts getting really confused about what exactly is happening on either book, so I just read one book at a time. And if I'm not enjoying a book, I stop reading it, read another one, and then go back to that book and finish it. So I'm currently reading Harold the Knife by Tamsin Muir, and after that I'm gonna read Hogfather from the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett because it is the season, and I'm gonna do a video talking about the books I'm planning to read in 2025. Question 6. Book you dislike that everyone else seems to enjoy. Do not ask me about Brandon Sanderson. Just don't. Question 7. What are your favorite series? So, as I mentioned, The Expanse by James S. A. Corey is my favorite sci-fi series. I also love Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie, and that whole trilogy. I think it's great. And it might be a little premature to say because I've only read 2 books so far and it's a 10-book series, but I'm obsessed with Malazan, Book of the Fallen already, and it would have to go really downhill from here for me to take it off my list of favorites, and I don't think that's gonna happen. So yeah, Malazan, I'm obsessed. And lastly, this was just a question I put in myself because I want to talk about it. Who is your favorite author? And I don't think I've read enough to have a definitive answer here, but I wanted to talk about it anyway, because I will say after reading The Left Hand of Darkness and The Dispossessed this year, Ursula Le Guin is currently my favorite. Both those books had some of the most beautiful writing and incredible ideas and messages that I've ever read, and one of my goals for the next year is to read as much of her work as possible. Alright, I think that's the best place to finish this introduction. I don't want to make this too long because it will get boring. And yeah, I just finished reading Dead House Gates as I mentioned earlier, so I'm gonna do a video about it really soon because I really need to talk about it. See you next time.